play.
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you. Thanks for being with us. It is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen, thanks for being with us. JJ, what's up, man? Oh, you got your K-State colors on. I like it.
Go Wildcats. We'll be back. Don't worry.
We'll be back, he says.
Just a blip in the radar there.
Hey, if it doesn't work out, you can always tell people that purple's in your color wheel. Let's not be trite about it. Some person flew in and told JJ, you got to wear purple on TV. Right?
Yes, they actually did.
You're not but again, you can bail out of TCU. You can bail out of Kansas State at any time and say TCU.
I could do that too. Well,
you got a good choice.
I think that maybe I might be doing that here in about 3 or 4 weeks if I'm looking at the schedule.
I know.
Especially when TCU beats Kansas State here in a few weeks.
I'm pretty high on TCU. I mean, I said it last week.
Yeah.
And I think that you and I going TCU Baylor on our picks, that's leading out, my guy. I think we're going to do it.
It's schedule work is what it is.
Here's what they have to do.
Who has the easiest schedule?
Do you want to?
I don't do anything unless a consultant tells me to do it.
Oh yeah. No. We got to go by the book here in this building.
I'm not going to use my brain. Are you kidding me?
How dare you?
I'm not going to think.
So, what's interesting about that is, I think the real problem that the Big 12 has, and I keep thinking about this because I don't know what the 5+12 model is going to look like. I can't help but think that the Big 12 and the ACC are going to get left out a little bit when it comes to the new order of things and how this is going to go. I can see them being absolutely shorted, and then they're going to be wishing that they would have gotten the 2 auto bids. Because
there's only one way to change that. On the field.
Yeah. No, I 100%.
Powers have to emerge.
I agree.
Powers have to emerge. They have in the Big Ten. They have in the SEC.
It doesn't help.
It's a fairly new conference, right?
They're celebrating their 30th year this year.
Don't for a second pretend like this is the Texas-Oklahoma Big 12.
They're celebrating their 30th year this year, JJ.
Yeah, with half the league being new. How many teams in the Big 12 are part of the original Big 12?
Cincinnati's all, hey, happy birthday, Big 12. Just wanted to say a big shout out.
TCU
Thanks so
wasn't
much.
even in the original Big 12.
No. No, I don't think any. No, 1996. Yeah, TCU definitely not in, and then obviously the Four Corner schools, and obviously the. Well, no, hold on a minute. Interestingly enough, Colorado was in the Big 12.
They were, correct. They are part of the original.
So there you go.
They don't count because they left.
They don't count.
Their tenure in the Pac-12
you know
does not
what, though?
count against
I think
the
we could go off of that and just keep going with it. When Coach Prime leaves, they definitely won't count. It'll be a minute before they get back to Coach Prime prominence. All right. Our show brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Give it a shot today. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other retailers in the refrigerated section. Give it a shot. All right, let's jump in right here. We've got tons to get to. It is a Tuesday, but it's a Tuesday of a game week. And you know what that means? We've got sound coming in. We've got a lot of people talking about their teams. We've got a lot of people wondering what they're going to see out of their teams. Lots of guessing going on, but we're excited to do all of it. But right out of the gates, if you were to make a conference, or if you were to make a top 25 of the best all-time teams, would you be surprised to know that a local team made that list? Let's jump in right here with the cut, top of the program.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the show. TRAJAN Wealth.com for all your trusted local needs in retirement. TrajanWealth.com. I guess this could be, I mean, blue bloods are blue bloods. You know what I mean? But the problem is that the blue blood programs in football aren't really those blue bloods anymore, JJ. Some of them aren't.
No.
We talked about the rapid and really sad fall of Nebraska football. Tennessee could be on that list of a team of teams that you look at and you go, you know what? I don't know.
You know who else is approaching that territory?
USC Trojans.
Fight on.
Or don't.
Or fight off.
I was going to say, or don't, and then just be irrelevant. It's fine.
Just go to the beach. Forget football.
So, in the end, this list has to maybe just be adjusted a little bit. However, USA Today put together a top 25 of all-time football programs. Now, this, of course, will drum up some controversy because you might not find your team on that list. And let me start at number 1. We'll go the reverse order here. And you tell me when you have a problem. You say something, JJ, when you have a problem with this. Alabama, number 1. Ohio State, number 2. Oklahoma, number 3.
Right. What? Why?
Excuse me? You're all, wait. Wah.
These according to USA Today.
This is all
These are the
time.
top 25 college football programs.
Yes. And so so history is being taken into account. Everything, top to bottom. What your program is. Again, like I said, this is kind of
Oklahoma still hanging on at number 3? That's a great question. They've been good in every era.
They have, and on
Bob
top of it,
Stupar was great.
Think about how many Heisman Trophy winners.
Right,
7 of them.
Yes.
Right. So the national championships plus the Heisman Trophy, you kind of go, you know what? That's crazy.
You know what? I've talked
You're all right
myself
with
into it.
All
Yeah.
Right. How about the Texas Longhorns? A little high at 4.
High. Too high.
Yeah, this is
I
getting
have
a lot
Michigan
of.
ahead of Texas.
They have a lot of. This has recency run right here. So Texas, I don't know if 4 is there for them. Michigan at 5. No peep there. Okay. Georgia 6. I would actually probably even put Georgia ahead of Texas.
Yes. I would have Georgia. You know what?
You have them ahead of Michigan? Uh-oh. Now we got controversy. Okay. Think about it.
Georgia had Herschel Walker. They've had Heisman Trophy winners. They've national championships. They've been fairly consistently good for a long period of time. When has Georgia ever been bad?
When I was growing up, they were pretty mid. They were very we'll see you in the. It was but Alabama was a little bit the same way, kind of during the middle of the Gene Stallings era.
Alabama had a period before Saban where they weren't juggernauts either.
Right, sure.
But they were always Alabama. You always had respect for what they were with Bear Bryant, et cetera. And even Gene Stallings got them to a national title, in 92?
Yes, so that was a.
They maintained some relevancy through a period that Alabama fans probably feel was a little dark.
I'm looking too because I think that I think Georgia, just based off of the national championships and recent ones, not just national championships but also recent national championships, I think they're a bigger deal than number 6. But that's again, that might be. I mean, the national titles that they've won, they won 2 years in a row in 21 and 22. Those 2 runs of really, really good teams, but prior to that, they had only won 2, and they kind of weren't really.
Yeah, you kind of have to go back to the Vince Dooley era. I know they underachieved for a while with Georgia,
right.
so
we are spending way too much time with the Bulldogs.
We are.
I hate those guys. Yeah. All right. Next up on the list, USC at 7. Now, their history of USC brings them to this point. I don't diss this number 7 ranking all time.
I don't either.
I just know that
I won't argue it.
I just know that right now it is nowhere near any of this that they're talking about. We're talking about the John Robinson, Pete Carroll, John McKay, the 8 Heisman Trophy winners, which makes them the most Heisman winners of all time. The amount of number 1 overall picks in the NFL, they have that record.
The Pete Carroll era was incredible.
It was
that 2004 USC team.
And it was modern. And so it was guys that we got to watch play
Star
at both
power,
levels. Yeah.
Fun to watch.
Think about we were able to witness a Troy Polamalu, for example.
Right.
Troy Polamalu as a relatively recent college player and then go through his entire illustrious Hall of Fame NFL career.
Right.
So we're kind of firmly planted that footprint right there. And I think of some of my favorite players all time from USC. I have some, I think about the Junior Seaus of the world, like Troy Polamalu. I mentioned that, but I like the Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart era. I was glad.
If you loved college football, how would you deny enjoying what they did on the field?
It was hard. And now part of it is that I always wanted anybody to just beat Notre Dame, and boy, they would do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so, speaking of Notre Dame, they're number 8.
They're ahead of them. 8 Heisman winners all time at USC. That's crazy.
That's a lot. Notre Dame number 8 on the list.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised Notre Dame's not higher.
I'm glad that it's where it is because I think it actually does reflect what the reality is of what the program is versus what it's like.
The lack of national championships is probably why they're pushed down to 8.
1988 was the last time they won a title.
The consistency and the tradition is tough to match.
Yeah.
Over decades and decades and decades.
And
they
brand.
have been relevant.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they have been on NBC since as long as I can remember, their own TV contract. As far as brand goes, I don't know that there's a stronger brand in college football. Even despite what the SEC teams have done. More
recognizable helmets in football at all probably aren't
Notre
any.
Dame, and nobody thinks of anything other than football first.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great brand to have. Next up, in terms of these teams who are also on this list, and I don't know. I look at it and I wonder if there's if some of these teams could be just toppled at some point. Or if you're going to need more time for it, even like a USC. USC has, they have a stranglehold on the branding, the tradition, all those things. They're just bad right now. And we like to make fun of them now, but, man, I don't know. LSU at 9 seems high, considering the names that we just rolled through. Look
at the coaches. Look at the titles. Look at the NFL talent it's produced.
Hard not to ding Penn State, who's at 10. Hard not to move them down the list because of their recent history. I think James Franklin is underrated for what he inherited and is trying to develop at that place, and he's doing it. So kudos to him.
And you have to mention, obviously, the controversy and the horrific things that happened there. And for James Franklin to move this program forward after that has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And, of course, O'Brien deserves some credit for that, too, as well.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
Florida is 11. Don't hate it. Again, a lot of recent success.
I think that's a good spot for them.
Yeah. Florida State 12. If it was 10 years ago, you and I would probably be like, wait a minute,
hey,
put them higher.
15-year-old me says they're number
6.
1 or 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, in the 80s and 90s, Florida State's brand was just – I grew up – and most kids were Florida State fans when I was growing up. Just because of Dion and all the NFL players they had. They were on TV all the time.
They made the movie The Program just based off of this ridiculous program, right?
So you got to understand that. Obviously, they have not been the same for the last couple decades. But.
Clemson 13, high or low for those guys?
Well, I think I think there's a past that people aren't aware of. But now you look at what they've done in the modern era, 2 national championships, and the players they've produced. I have no problem with them being 13.
They have 22 conference titles, by the way. That's pretty good. Miami, 14. Again, 15-year-old you would be like, oh,
same thing.
Put them at 6.
But they have been very mid over the last decade or so.
Oregon, 15. You could make an argument for how big their brand is compared to this on the list. I think they are climbing as well. Tennessee, 16. Group this next 3 together of people who are absolutely falling off planet Earth. Tennessee, 16. Nebraska, 17. And Auburn, 18.
Tennessee's had the recent – they got to the college football playoff last year, so I'm fine with it. There was a period of time, the Jeremy Pruitt era was abysmal, where Tennessee had hit irrelevance, but I think they're back. Nebraska's fighting back, but still not there. I think Auburn's headed in the wrong direction.
Oh, yeah, I think Hugh Freeze is a mess.
But still, Auburn had Cam Newton. They've had recent national titles. It's tough to argue. Auburn had Bo Jackson. Auburn has been – up and down, but they also have had those moments where they beat Alabama in that rivalry game. They've had their moments.
How about this? And I like it. I wonder if it could maybe even go a little bit higher just based off of how these people have performed over the last few decades. Boise State. This is a team that has not been in FBS football since, they've only been in it since 1996.
This is where fans here locally can start having their argument.
We know what they.
I think this is where it starts with Utah, BYU. Where do they belong on this list, and if so, where? Boise State has done something special over the last. They've only been in FBS since 1996.
30 years.
I grew up
30 years.
When I grew up, I'm aging myself. They were in the Big Sky. They played Idaho State.
Well, think about it.
They played Weber State.
They got into the bowl. They got into the FBS level almost 10 years after Notre Dame won their last national title.
Right.
That's how recent this kind of is. But they've also gone to 21 bowl games in the last 30 years. They've won 283 games in the last 30 years, and they of course are basically in the conversation every year of being the people to knock off of that G5 auto bid into the college football playoff. They are BCS busters. We know that goes a long way here. And I think 19 is a great place for them.
Have they accomplished more than BYU and Utah over that span?
Well, that's a good one to talk about. Now, I don't know why this team's on this list at all. The Wisconsin Badgers are on this list. Do you have beef with them being 20th on the list?
Too high.
Do you have beef with number 21 being on the list?
What have they done?
The Texas A&M Aggies.
They have done nothing.
Well, national championship.
I went through this a couple weeks ago.
National championship, 1939.
I don't think they've won a conference championship since R.C. Slocum was the head coach.
Oh, boy.
They had Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
They've had some good players. But
they've only underperformed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every year.
Okay, Washington's 22. I'll let you say something about that one. You tell me if that's too high or too low.
When you look at the past, you consider all the great players they've had over the years. I'm okay with that.
I'm definitely better than putting Wisconsin on this list ahead of Washington.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And
Wisconsin had a nice run. Wisconsin had a nice run, but people forget how bad Wisconsin used to be.
Yeah. Michigan State at 23, I have no idea what to think about it because most of their arguments are made based off of what they did between 1950 and 1975. And that's tough because I know that there are teams, and because that's frankly what Notre Dame is, right?
I would put BYU and Utah ahead of Michigan State right now.
Iowa's 24. And then you ready for this? At number 25, the Utah Utes.
Ooh.
BYU fans
BYU not in this top 25 list?
They're pulling their wheel into the embankment.
Okay, why Utah at 25?
Okay, here's what their explanation is. I'm just going to read what the explanation from USA Today is. It took until the turn of the century for the Utes to become bowl fixtures, but a couple of undefeated campaigns in the aughts and back-to-back Rose Bowl appearances more recently gave the school a presence in the realignment derby. Their fans now hope last year's 5-7 finish is just a bump of the road as they forge ahead in the Big 12. Back-to-back Rose Bowl appearances is quite the flex to put yourself on a list because they also did not win either of those games. I think Pac-12 championships in those back-to-back years is a big deal. I think that everybody knows how big of a deal it was in 2004 and 2008 what they did. So if you're going to put Boise State on this list, I think Utah is a better version of Boise State in a way because they parlayed that brand into getting into power conferences.
Boise State's still in the Mountain West, and they'll move to the Pac-12, but that's the fairest point is Utah vaulted themselves up.
Yes, I agree.
And guess who else did too? It was BYU.
Do you think now
BYU deserves to be on this list?
Are you being we tend to lean toward our local teams here because I think Utah at 25 on the list, I go, great. It is a little bit strange that BYU's not on the list just because of the history between 19.
We just did a top 10, Alex. We just did a top 10. Mm-hmm. Where did BYU fall in win percentage in the 2000
in the 2020s?
Just right now.
Yeah, it was 10th. Yeah, 10th overall. It was 71%
in the nation just in this decade we're currently in. Mm-hmm. And they won a lot of games in independence. And before that, they were very relevant. Top 25. They won multiple Mountain West championships. They have a national title in 1984. They have a Heisman Trophy winner. They have 2 Outland Trophy winners. They have a Doak Walker Award winner. They've won in every decade since Lavelle Edwards took over in 1972. Why is BYU not in this list? Has Wisconsin
done more
than BYU? Has Washington done more than BYU over the last 50 years? Has Michigan State done more than BYU? Has Boise State been more consistent for longer? I could argue they've done more than Texas A&M.
Texas A&M on this list
now,
is
you've
a
got
wild,
Auburn,
is a wild
you got
pick.
Auburn, Nebraska. Auburn's won national titles, plural. Nebraska, Tennessee.
There's history.
So I told you it starts at 19 where I would actually place BYU.
Somewhere in that top 25.
I would put BYU, Boise State, and Utah all in the same clump with what they've accomplished and what they've done on a national scale. The whole story of college football, and it kind of ties together if you think about this. Let me make this point. Why did they start the BCS or the Bowl Champion, whatever they did, or the Alliance back? You remember the day?
Yeah. It was to exclude
team like
teams like BYU
from ever winning a national championship again. So BYU disrupted the system in the 80s. Again in the 2000s, who was the first BCS buster? Utah.
Yep.
And that changed that way. That they did that system. Who else was a buster? Boise State.
Yep.
Was completely took college football by storm. They had the same impact in this century that BYU had in the last one, with trick plays and doing things out of the box and creating a brand that people wanted to watch late at night. All three of those teams and those programs have had similar circumstances where they proved themselves against the bullies of college football and won and earned respect and now find themselves among the elite. BYU and Utah are in the Big 12. They're both Power 4. And Boise State, while still in the Pac-12, made the first college football playoff 12-team field. I think all three of them should be in that grouping. I go 19, 20, 21 with Boise State, Utah, BYU. You have your debate who goes higher, but they should all be included in this top 25 for the reasons I stated.
So tell me, without being, like, if we were to take off our we live in the state of Utah and we cover these teams hat, are there teams outside of this conference or outside of this market that you look at and you go, how are we not talking about
TCU?
This team?
TCU's been to a national championship. TCU has a long, long history.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, they have dark times, but they also
you talk about Doak Walker Award winners.
They are similar
that's where Doak Walker went to school.
Exactly. They had to do the same thing that BYU and Utah and Boise State have had to do and climb their way up, and they've done it impressively. So I would also include them in that conversation.
I just wonder if we're shorting anybody.
Who's done more recently?
Is there like an
TCU
Oklahoma
or
State?
Iowa?
Well,
what has Iowa done?
Yeah, it's
Except
hard.
be slightly above average and produce really impressive NFL tight ends.
They're like 8-win seasons. Thumbs up, everybody.
They have great punters.
Well, like, why not Oklahoma State, for example? Right? They've been good for a couple of decades.
Enough,
just
right?
not consistent enough.
Not consistent enough.
Okay.
Barry Sanders, right? They've had multiple Doak Walker Award winners. They've had good seasons.
I'm trying to think.
I just don't think they've accomplished as many.
I just wonder if we've shorted any of these other teams and other markets.
I think the list shorted BYU, to be quite honest.
Yeah, all right. Utah made the list though,
and I have no problem with that.
Yeah,
BYU should be included.
All right, we'll take a break here. Before we do though, tomorrow we're just trying to remind everybody the entire KSL Sports Zone on-air staff is going to be Wednesday 3 to 6 p.m. live at Kenny J's Barbecue in the District in South Jordan. Come out, check it out. Have some awesome barbecue, and we're going to talk some college football. I mean, it's just going to be – we're going to be playing the hits of stuff that is absolutely on our radar, the things that are the most important across the local side of things, the national side of things, our college football roundtable. It's an annual tradition now at this point, and I certainly hope it becomes a national or a yearly tradition at Kenny J's Barbecue as well. Meet us at the District tomorrow in South Jordan, right where the Megaplex Theater is at the District. Right across the entrance from there. That's where we're going to be at Kenny J's Barbecue in South Jordan. So get ready. We'll hang out and we'll have some awesome. We'll have an awesome time. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. Steve Bartle, our Ute insider for KSLSports.com. He's going to join us. We'll get his thoughts on all sorts of things going on at Camp Witt and how that first press conference that Witt gave this week and how this team starts to shape up now as they come into focus down at the Rose Bowl this Saturday against UCLA. Stay with us. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go! Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. The Cougars open the season at home at LaVell Edwards Stadium as they welcome in Portland State. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're locked on to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Tomorrow is the Cougar Preview Show brought to you by Beehive Meals with Hanson Scotty. Noon to 3. Don't want to miss it. Brought to you by Beehive Meals every week, your Cougar Preview Show. Steve Bartle is our Utah Utes insider for KSLSports.com. I'm sure Kyle Whittingham is talked out, Steve, but we're not. And he had to actually talk about an opponent that they're facing this week. And you got to love when Coach has to talk about an opponent.
Oh, yeah, man. It's finally some new talking points, some new conversations, some new sound bites, different things to talk about. It was refreshing. And, he kept it pretty short and sweet, even talking about the Bruins. But still, man, it was just nice to be up there at his press conference and to get some different sound bites. We've been talking so much about the same things, and we've all kind of hit that point where it's like, all right, let's get some fresh football played and some new conversations, some new topics, and I think we're all at that point. But yeah, Kyle Whittingham, I think it's pretty clear, not only hearing from him, but also the players that we talked to yesterday, that there's a lot of excitement for the UCLA game this Saturday, and everybody is kind of chomping at the bit to finally hit a different color jersey, and so I think that's basically where we're all at. Is we want to see this team hit the field and see what we've got in the Utes this season.
In today's college football, it's just impossible to predict who's good and who's not. UCLA's picked to finish 16th in the Big Ten. How careful do teams have to be, and maybe it's just us, but the teams as well, in making judgments about what they're facing, especially with the lack of information and knowledge that we have about teams? How difficult is it for them to scout?
Yeah, it's definitely a new era where, there's so much roster turnover. Coaches don't stay, at places. It's rare for places to have coaches in place for, more than 3, 4, 5 years. Utah, BYU, those are the exceptions, right? And so, with UCLA, they've gone through a massive overhaul from last year, and they've brought in over 50 new players, much like Utah. They've brought in a new offensive coordinator, much like Utah. They've also brought in a new quarterback. And, that quarterback, it's a little bit interesting when we've talked about Utah and having Devin Dampier coming with Jason Beck, with this Bruins squad. It's kind of interesting because, you have to study Indiana because that's where Tino Sinceri, called plays last year. So you have to, evaluate tape from Indiana to get a feel for, the scheme, formations, tendencies, and that sort of thing. But then you also have to evaluate the players. And so it's a lot of, cobbling film and from different schools and different levels of play. It's a really difficult job. But, if there's someone you can trust to put in the time, put in the effort, Morgan Scalley is going to be grinding tape, grinding film as much as anyone. And he's going to have this defense, as prepared as they can be to compete against the Bruins. But I thought Whittingham made a really important point, is that we don't know exactly what this team is going to be until we actually, see them and what they're trying to do on the field in the game. And so in-game adjustments are going to be really, really important. And I think that's going to be the biggest key for Utah in this UCLA matchup, just kind of given, again, all of the changes, all of the new faces, all of the new things that they have to take into account. It's a difficult job, but that's why these coaches get paid a lot, is to put in the time to prepare and to have the answers and the counters when they need them.
Who's got the more solidified quarterback situation between Nico Iamaleava and of course Devin Dampier at Utah? Like, when you look at the ups and downs, I think just the distraction that Nico has brought to UCLA has been its own thing, but they're excited because it's a guy who's got college football playoff experience, I guess, under his belt. I don't know if it was a great experience, but I don't know what to expect. Utah fans are wondering too what Devin Dampier is going to. What's more intriguing between those two quarterbacks?
Well, I think, what's going to be more intriguing is, how has Nico, because he didn't get there until the summer, right? He didn't get spring ball to work with Sinceri and the offense. So where is he going to be at in terms of his understanding of the playbook, his understanding of, timing and the chemistry with receivers? Now, he's a really he's a top flight talent in terms of what he can do with the ball in his hands, both as a runner. Now, he may not be, a real physical guy given his slender frame, but he can run. And even beyond that, his arm talent, what he can do, throwing the ball deep down the field, squeezing throws into tight windows, he's got a lot of talent. And so how much of that is going to make up for the lack of time that he's had in this offense? I think that is certainly kind of the more intriguing storyline in this matchup. I think Utah fans should feel, I don't want to say comfortable, but you should feel a sense of confidence, that Dampier going into year 2 under Beck, that's going to bode really well for how he's going to perform, because he's got the experience in the offense. He has great command of the offense. And two, I think this is a really important point, is that, Beck understands, what Dampier does well, what he struggled with last year. And that's going to be a process for Sinceri this year in learning about Iamaliava and what he's really comfortable doing, what he's really good at, where he struggles. So that's going to be something that they're going to have to work through this season. But I think for Utah fans, again, there should be a good amount of confidence that Dampier can not only play at a good level, but can elevate his level of play, his level of execution as a quarterback going into year 2 under Coach Beck.
It's not the flashy, exciting thing to talk about, but I think the most intriguing matchup in this game is Utah's offensive line against UCLA's front. Agree or disagree?
JJ. Yes, JJ.
I got you. You're on my team.
Yes. The more we talk about the big uglies, the better. I think, this unit has the potential to be really special. And I think it's also important for Utah fans to understand that UCLA, this is a UCLA squad that was really good last year stopping the run. And they were top 10, top 5 in terms of rushing yards allowed in total, rushing yards allowed per game. This is a tough unit. Now, they've brought in a lot of new faces because they lost a lot of really talented players. Their linebacker core, I think both of them were draftees. They lost a couple edge rushers and a defensive tackle that was just dominant. So, what is this new unit going to look like this year? I don't know, but this defensive scheme, it's tough, and it prioritizes taking away the run. And so when we're talking about Utah and this offense, we talk a lot about the run game, and that's always been the case under Whittingham. So this is going to be, a strength-on-strength battle, and I think, it's going to be a really tough test for Utah's offensive line. But this is where the game is going to be won for either team, is Utah's offensive line versus the defensive line. I think this is a really tough matchup. But again, given what Utah has along the line, you should feel pretty good about Utah's chances to, get it done. And I think it's important too. This is interesting. Going back to last week, we saw a matchup of Iowa State and Kansas State. If you look at the rushing averages per quarter for Iowa State, it really kind of paints a picture, because we remember that fourth quarter, Iowa State was really effective in terms of putting together drives, sustaining drives, and eating up a lot of clock. And when you look at their rushing yards per quarter, it started out 0.8 yards in the first quarter, 2 yards in the second quarter. Then it got to 3 yards. And then by the time the fourth quarter came around, they were averaging 4.8 yards per carry in the fourth quarter alone. And so that's going to be a key for Utah is, regardless of how tough it is early on, they have to stay committed to it, because you're going to wear them down. And as long as they do that, I think this offensive line, has the ability to kind of not only, set the tone, but have that same sort of effect of wearing the opponent down. And I think that's going to be a really important piece. So if they don't come out guns blazing like Joe Williams in 2016, running for 60, 70 yards, that's okay. Just stay committed to the run. I think that's going to be a really important element for Utah on Saturday.
We've had way too much Joe Williams 332 yard talk in this, but you know what? It's hard to forget that day. Now let me ask you this, Steve, because I think a lot of Utah fans are excited about whatever the they just want something different from last year, and I think that they know that the alternative is the Kyle Whittingham that they've come to know and love, and the Kyle Whittingham that's going to allow himself to ride off into the sunset, whether it's this year or another year, is the one that's winning. So what is the ceiling for this Utah team? Let's say this Devin Dampier offense starts to click pretty well. Like, what's the expectation then if the offense is making points every week?
Yeah, I think a lot of fans just want to get back to having fun, enjoying these football games, because the last couple of seasons, it's been a lot of just grueling experiences. And obviously with injuries, watching guys go down, your favorite players go down, it adds to that, frustrating feeling, because, you don't get to watch your favorite players anymore. And so I think first and foremost, obviously, is keeping everybody healthy and upright. Because if they do that, this team, I think, has these, and especially this offense, has the potential to, I think, surprise people in terms of, its ability to produce and get production in both phases of the game. In terms of their ceiling, there's certainly some big question marks with this Utah team. And it starts first and foremost with that wide receiver position and what that is going to look like. In order for any offense to reach its max ceiling, you need a go-to wide receiver to emerge. And because you're going to get in those situations, those third and long situations where you need to go to somebody to convert, through the air. That's going to be really important for Utah to have somebody step up in that sort of role to become that go-to wide receiver. So I think Utah's ceiling is large. I shouldn't say largely dependent upon that, but in order to reach its ceiling, Utah needs someone to step up in that phase of the game. So that's going to be one thing. Another thing is obviously the defensive line and the depth along the defensive line. I think you feel good about the depth at defensive end, but defensive tackle, you've got three guys that have been in the program a couple of years, but then you've got a lot of young faces. And I'm as optimistic as anybody when it comes to Carson Kaufusi. I've been talking about him a lot this year in terms of what I think he's going to be a guy that'll, be in the rotation pretty heavily. I think he's going to be a fixture in that rotation. We've heard some good things about others in that room, Fufu Cephalona. But again, these are true freshmen. And so that's just sort of a wild card. And, with that, Carson was here for winter workouts. He was here for spring ball. So you feel like he's going to be as prepared as anyone from that freshman five to come in and help that group. But I think Utah is going to need answers at those two spots specifically to reach their ceiling. So, I think Utah can get to the Big 12 championship game. And I think, watching, some of the action last week with Kansas State, Iowa State, Kansas looks like a dangerous team with Jalen Daniels, who looks like he's kind of regained that magic that he had, in 2022. This is going to be a tough Big 12 season because there are so many teams that are going to be competing. They're going to be contending for a trip to Arlington this year. But I do think that Utah has the elite talent at certain spots. They have depth in important positions, offensive line, defensive end. They have depth at linebacker and in the secondary, and that's going to be important. Now, where's Dampier at in terms of, his development, his progress? What sort of leap does he make? That's going to be a significant factor in Utah getting to the title game. But I absolutely think Utah is not only capable of getting there, but winning it. And so but again, it's going to be Utah finding those answers in order to get it to get to Arlington. And that's going to be, we won't know that until we get to see this team in action. So I think they can get there. And then, with this schedule, it's tough. It's, you've got 5 or 6 of the top contenders, at least preseason, how they were viewed, on your schedule. And so it's going to be, a pretty tough gauntlet once you get into October, and you've got to finish up in November with going to Baylor, Kansas, and then having Kansas State come home. So it's going to be tough. The schedule is not doing Utah any sort of favors because of, obviously they've got a lot of home games, but still you're bringing in, the top contenders in the league, it's going to be tough. So I think Utah can get to the Big 12 title game. I think they can win it, but they're going to need answers to get it done.
Real quick, Steve, besides Devin Dampier, who's the newcomer or young player that's going to make a splash in the UCLA game that fans are going to be talking about Sunday morning?
Oh, man, what a great question. I think, because there are so many new faces, it's tough to pick one. I think Wayshawn Parker is going to be a guy that I think he's got star potential. When you talk about his game, how it fits in this offensive scheme and the sort of emphasis that Utah is going to put on the running back, I look at Wayshawn as being a guy that can emerge in that way. And then another guy that I'm really interested in, is a couple guys from that tight end room, Hunter Andrews and J.J. Buchanan. I'm really fascinated to see what sort of dynamic, what sort of layer in terms of, the tight end room specifically, how they'll be utilized, what that looks like for them and how they're used. I'm fascinated to see what that looks like on Saturday. But I would probably say those three on the offense, and then defense. Rabbit Evans is a guy that I'm really excited to see this season. I think he's got some big time potential for Utah this year.
Steve Bartle, Ute insider for KSLSports.com. We're looking forward to it, and we'll chat with you after Saturday, of course, when we know exactly what did happen, and then we can really break it down. We appreciate it, Steve.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
There you go,
Steve
Bartle. Let's take a break. Before we do, I got some tickets to give away. It's a Ticket Tuesday. What do we have? Well, all you have to do is give us a call right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-9663. Get a family 4-pack of tickets to the Salt Lake Bees at their new stadium in Daybreak. So 801-575-ZONE. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
Welcome back, JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Every Wednesday on this very station, all the way across every show, you've got tickets coming your way. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. This week, you can win tickets to The Offspring and their Supercharged World Tour in 25. That's going to be September 6th at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Don't miss The Offspring with their special guests, Jimmy Eat World and Newfound Glory. So there you go. Get tickets now, livenation.com, or you can listen all day long tomorrow for those chances to win on a Win Ticket Wednesday. I've got a Would You Rather here, JJ. I was looking at the slate of college football games, and I was trying to figure out which one you thought may be the one that you want to see the most.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I know that it's easy to just say the Texas Longhorns and the Ohio State Buckeyes, and it's a great matchup. But which one would you rather be at right here, week one? Okay, ready for this?
Okay.
You got Texas, Ohio State at the shoe. Don't forget, though, other games of note that you don't want to miss. LSU and Clemson. That fires off at Clemson
Valley.
Stadium. Yes.
Nice.
Well, you would have been right in either location.
Correct.
By the way. You're all Death. Are they playing at Death Valley?
Imagine showing up to the wrong Death Valley on Saturday.
Are they playing at Death Valley?
That would be
All right.
embarrassing.
And then the final one of two ranked teams, Notre Dame, Miami. So Notre Dame, Miami, LSU, Clemson, or Texas and Ohio State.
Texas and Ohio State at the shoe. Easy.
Which team or which one of those, I'm going to make you pick too, which one of these teams between Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, or Notre Dame, Miami, in one of those games loses but is still able to get to the college football playoff?
Texas.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Do you want to go to the shoe?
And possibly Clemson, because Clemson's going to win out after this
You
game.
don't think Miami is going to come back after a loss to Notre Dame? And because
but Notre Dame could come back from the loss to Miami.
They
As we
did
saw
last year
they did
against.
it. If you can lose to Northern Illinois, you can lose to Miami.
That's a good one. Would you rather lose to Northern? Would you rather lose to Northern Illinois, and you have to lose to your most inferior opponent if you're Notre Dame, but you make the college football playoff every 4 years? Would you rather do that?
Of course. Absolutely. Who
You're in it
cares? Who
every 4
remembers?
years.
Who cares?
Oh, listen, if they lost every year to some FCS team,
They made it to the national championship game. Is anybody still laughing at them about the Northern Illinois loss?
I mean, we still do a little bit. Come on.
But they went to the national championship game.
The Huskies are like transitive national champions. We also beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. Let's get to some Utah State talk next. We'll get you ready not just for UTEP coming into town against the Utah State Aggies. That's at Maverick Stadium, right? They're not going down to the Sun Bowl, are they? Oof. Thank heavens. And then we got some Bronco Mendenhall sound. The very first week of the coach being the head coach for Utah State, getting ready for an actual game. So we'll talk Utah State Aggies next. Stay here, 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.